Welcome to the London Commercial Offices podcast with me, your host, Steve Berridge, Managing Director at Fidgens Cost Management. This is a podcast where we share the stories, career paths, lessons and insights from some of the industry's most influential people. Anything contained within our podcast should not be considered professional advice, and if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe or follow buttons to ensure you don't miss any of the amazing guests we've got coming up. It also really helps us grow the show. Thanks. Today we're joined by Liz Purcell, Global Workplace Delivery Manager for Equinix. Equinix is a leading partner in global data center solutions, and Liz is responsible for the delivery of their global workplace portfolio. Starting out life as an interior designer in Australia, we're going to talk through her career path, how and why she made the leap into project management, and how she ended up in London. So, without further ado, Liz, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. My very first podcast.
Your very first podcast, and not your last, I hope. You'll know from previous episodes that we like to start right back at the beginning. So how far back are we going today?
I think let's go as far back as university. That's probably far enough.
So what was Liz like at university?
Incredibly dedicated, hardworking. I think there was weekly all-nighters working on architectural projects. The perfectionist that came from being a child carried through university. The person I was at school carried through to university, so hardworking,
were you academic?
Dedicated.
Were you, good grades, sporty?
Always good grades, good sporty, team player, and I think that definitely carried through to university, and the wanting to be a perfectionist at uni carried through. So the long nights and hours on projects, and completed university with a Bachelor of Interior Architecture, first class honours. So
the hard work sort of paid off. Where did the interior architecture kind of passion come from? Was that, were you always arty and creative? Was there an outside influence?
No, I was on an art scholarship at school. So definitely had a focus and a love of art. I've always loved being creative. And my stepmother is actually an interior designer as well, as is my auntie. So I think I was always surrounded by some very creative, talented people. But my love of art had been, I guess, on my own volition. My own parents aren't necessarily creative. My father's a lawyer. My mother was paralegal. So not creative in that sense, but I definitely got the hard-working ethics from them. And my love of sport and teamship definitely from both of them. So a mixture of all those people in my life contributed to the person I became.
Perfect. And what sports were you into at uni?
I took up running, actually.
Okay.
Netball had definitely been my love. All like cricket we played at school, basketball, netball, all very much team sports. But I got very into running as I left school, and quickly discovered that long distance running was very much my thing. And I think hitting the pavement for long periods was something that gave me that calm, and very quickly got into things like half marathons, which I started to very much focus on and get quite good at. So sadly, hip surgery ended that at about 30. Yeah, half marathons was definitely my way of finding my calm and peace after school.
I can relate. I love running. And again, I did my knee at the start of the year. I've actually got knee surgery next Wednesday coming, a torn meniscus. So, but I'm hoping once that's done,
you can get back on
I'll be able to get back, because it's that mental space, calm,
it's amazing.
Problem solving internally. It's no emails, no phone.
No, up before the world's up.
No young children. It's
up before the world's up, out for a good hour in the morning, and you can start your day in a great way. Yeah, all those habits learnt at school and university through parents and those around me. So that kind of formed who I was.
So did you go away to uni and stay at uni, or did you study from home?
No, interestingly, I left home at 19. I was excited to be out renting with friends, a grown up. I probably left way too soon and put too much pressure on myself to be earning money to pay rent and doing university. But that was an amazing experience. But it's funny, it was only years later that I thought, why didn't I head off overseas and do university overseas? But no, University of New South Wales. But yeah, lived out of home and flattered with great flatmates who I'm still great friends with today, and I wouldn't trade anything for those stories.
Brilliant. So in terms of then, got your first class honours,
Yes.
Talk to me about starting in the working world. Had you done any previous experience, working as an interior designer, or had it purely been sort of theoretical and academic up to that stage? How did you land your first role within the industry?
Totally theoretical and academic at that point. Naively, probably should have got some work experience. Maybe that would have been a good start, but I was making great money working in bars, having way too much fun. And I wouldn't trade that either now upon reflection, because I made some great friends and had some great fun, and definitely made loads of money so that I could live out of home. And you could work the night hours and study during the day. So it worked perfectly with that. But coming out of university, 2002, 2003 was really hard to find work locally. And actually, a gentleman who ran an architectural practice that used to come to the bar that I worked at offered me a role to get a kickstart. I was doing basically tiny little projects with him and putting boards together and sketching up CAD, but I knew that wasn't where I wanted to be. And so it was an effort of putting, in those days, just a simple, good-looking CV and a cover letter out to the market, posting them, actually, handwritten notes, and posting them to architectural firms. And one day I got a call from a group called Watermark Architects, and initially I said, "Oh no, I'm in a role. I won't do the wrong thing. I've only just started here."
What
And then
was it, out of interest, in that initial role? What didn't you like about it? Was it the type of work? Was it the
it was
sector?
a tiny firm with two old guys running an architectural practice.
Right.
It didn't have the buzz and
The
the energy,
culture.
culture that I was
Culture
looking for.
I'm not sure that
Culture's
was really a
become a word
word.
of now.
It wasn't a word
No,
back in 2003, was it?
no, but I wanted a pack of people around me that were my age, and to be inspired and be working in the city. Also, I was working in more of a local suburb than in the city, and so as a
A big
young
change from working in
23-year-old, you wanted.
bars
Yes.
to working with two old guys
Yeah,
out
two
of
old
town.
guys. And I'm very grateful for that kickstart. And I think, you're always better employed to get your next job than unemployed. But Watermark came knocking, and I jumped at the opportunity, and it was a great decision. That was the place that I again worked some long, hard hours, but I got to cut my teeth on thrown in the deep end and learning how to take briefs from clients, come up with design solutions, fully document packages. Um, you know, Still to this day, it's those years that I was learning how to think about space and to detail things and think about how materiality needs to suit. And so I'm very grateful for those couple of years where I was really just absorbing from the teams of the studio around me how to really design space well and be conscious of the full end-to-end project.
What kind of sector were you operating in at Watermark?
Still corporate office fit out.
It was office.
Yeah, stay true to the corporate office fit out world.
I don't blame you. I've tried residential, and I much prefer workplace.
Yeah, it was always really exciting. I think I've been very lucky in that regard. And it was a great team of people. We had fun together, but everyone worked really hard. And so, I feel very fortunate for that period.
So talk to me. So in terms of the early sort of years of your career, obviously we had the first one for a short period of time. You're at Watermark for, I think, 3 years or so.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to me about sort of the roles that you had over in Oz? How you evolved, how you learned what you learned, and kind of what caused you to want to change companies over that period of time. Was it running away from things that you didn't like, or was it moving towards things that you were aspiring to do and work on?
I think there was an element of it being quite organic. I was definitely excited by the industry. So I was at the opening of everything, networking, meeting people, and I'm very grateful for every opportunity that I had in Australia came from the who I knew, not what I knew. And, when you're 25 and 27, people are looking for the person that's going to fit their team, and so I think I came with a really nice energy, and I was a keen young person, and the next couple of opportunities came directly because of that. And I moved from Watermark to a group called Hamilton Thompson. They were the project managers on one of our architectural jobs. Definitely didn't go down well with my boss at Watermark. "You stole my staff," I think were the words. and I got marched out. Just a bit rough for a 25-year-old. Again, joined a really small firm, two guys that had come out of one a designer, one a construction manager, and they were setting up a small project management firm. So I got to do design management, project management, take a project from end to end, small scale regional things, doing some small jobs for AMP, seconded into some good clients, United Airlines. So some really exciting little things, but, small so that I could learn and grow with them. And when you're working in a small firm, you do everything, and so it was really exciting to be part of that. And so that was very much an organic opportunity. Wasn't out hunting for project management, but I was excited by the chance to grow my skills and take what I knew. And, you're fearless back then. And I thought if it didn't work out, I could always go back to design, but why not? And the two guys that ran that company, who I'm still one of them very close to today, it was a great way to learn. So, I threw myself into that. And then 3 years beyond that, or 2 or 3 years beyond that, a group called the APP Corporation, which was a very strong project management organisation in Sydney. Met my next boss at a networking event. I could kind of even remember the night standing at the bar when we'd all got talking, and he was like, "I'd really like to offer you a job. Will you come meet me for a coffee?" And so that was kind of the next leap from there. It was taking what I'd learned in a small project management organisation to the next level and scale. And again, met some wonderful people there, had a really great team. It was an amazing culture at that company, and cut my teeth on some even bigger projects. And in my final role there, I was seconded into Morgan Stanley, and that was tough. That was very long hours, under-resourced, some challenges inside Morgan Stanley about the hierarchy and trying to get things done. So it was that was a really tough 18 months.
And what sort of work were you doing within that sort of client role? Was that churn? Was that opening up new offices? Was that
both? It was taking on small moves, adds and changes and things that needed to happen, but also planning. They'd acquired a group at the time, and so it was closing down that office, moving them into the Chifley Tower building and working through that. So that was a really tough 18 months. Didn't necessarily have most supportive boss at the end of that. It was a bit of a tough gig. And so I was almost at 30, and I thought, what about London? Should I go and do London?
Everybody else seems to be doing it.
Everyone else seemed to do it. And friends for years had been saying, move to London, you will love it. And every time I came to London, it was grey and drizzly and there was no beach in sight. And I was like, no, this is not Liz Purcell. And then I just thought, I get my one last chance to apply for my visa. Why not? Give it a go. If it comes through, pack up your apartment, rent it out, get rid of your car and go. Can always come home. Could always be back there. Visa came through. And so I handed in my resignation and threw caution to the wind and went, I'm going.
And did you have something lined up work-wise before you jumped over? So you were going to come over and then start looking?
Again, very naively thought, it'll be like Sydney. I'll have a network. I've got a really good CV from Sydney. Everyone knows me. I'll land something easily. It's a big market. And that was a tough 3 months trying to secure some work. But again, network from Sydney. One guy introduced me to someone at CBRE, and that's how my opportunity into London started. And till this day, 14 years later, the guy who hired me is still a very good friend. And so, 2011 left Sydney, took a couple of months travelling, landed in London tail end of the year, which is probably also not a great time of year to try and land a job. Everyone's shutting down for Christmas. And, just signed up with hundreds of recruiters and did everything I could to meet people and interview, and then landed my role with CB starting in March of 2012. And at that time, the gentleman who gave me the opportunity from CBRE, Ian Smith, was building the PM organisation, and the guy who is now my very close friend, Dan Kohler, had said, I'm not sure she's the right fit. She doesn't have EMEA experience. And Ian said, she's the right fit for the team, take her. Which is quite emotional today thinking about it. And so I guess they took a chance on me. And I knew a little bit of program management from Sydney days. We'd done it for a government client, program versus project. But I didn't really even know what EMEA was. What was EMEA? And so, landed a role with Microsoft account and just threw myself into it. And I pinch myself how lucky the team that we had on that Microsoft account. Still today, we are all great friends, and that's 15 years ago, and so that's a lovely way to look back on my start to London. And then about 5 years or 6 years into that role, and that was an incredible role with Microsoft, traveling Europe, making a network of people across the whole of Europe to deliver projects and learning to develop my skills again of how do you get projects done across the whole of Europe.
So what were the kind of, so it was program management, wasn't it?
Program management. So CBRE was set up as the program managers globally for the Microsoft account. And that meant then you would then appoint a local project manager and cost manager and consultant team and manage that team to deliver that scope of work. And that presented whole lots of exciting opportunities and challenges of when English is not the first language and how do you do things in different markets, and getting to travel out and see all of those projects. And so that was an incredible 5 or 6 years. And Microsoft was a fabulous organization and very sophisticated in their real estate setup. And that was a great opportunity for me to apply the fundamentals of project management that I understood, being organized, thorough, pulling the people together, knowing how to sense that, oh, that was a yes, but I'm sure that was a no, that's not really ready.
It wasn't a real yes.
It wasn't a real yes. And so, able to really deliver those workplaces across Europe for Microsoft. And then sort of 5 or 6 years in, who was the head of the Google account for CBRE came ringing, and he's like, I'd really like you to come join the Google account. I've heard great things. And I was like, no, I'm happy where I am. Thank you so much. But no, I'm good. Not wanting the change, not wanting to leave the comfort and the happy zone that I was in. And then I was like, Liz, what are you doing? You've been here 5 or 6 years. It's time to throw yourself back in the pool and see what else is out there. And then I rang Michael Conahan, who is now head of EMEA Google. And I said, okay, let's meet, let's talk, and let's see. I'm in. And I realize now when I went to the first drinks with the friends, with the team, they said, oh, you should be careful. Take a break between the accounts. This is really big. And I was like, I've come from big. Microsoft's big. I know how to handle this. And then I realized very quickly Google was even on the next level of scale, the quantum of projects, what they expected from team members. And so, it was the 2017, about July, I joined the Google account.
How do you look back in terms of which account you preferred to work on and reasons why?
Both, I pinch myself how lucky. Both of them were the most incredible environments. And I feel so lucky. Dan Kohler, who is now living in Australia, Nikki Deutsch, we are still in contact. Patrick Marsh, who led the account and was one of the most amazing bosses I've ever had, someone who knew where his career was going, but not afraid to help me grow mine and took me through promotions to associate director, then through director. And that's quite rare for people to be confident of where their career is going and not be afraid to take others up with you and help you grow. And so that was an amazing opportunity. And the client group there was phenomenal, but so was the client group at Google. And I think they are two of the biggest jewels in the market of clients to work for. And I feel so lucky that I was able to be part of those two accounts. And the people at Google, in a similar vein, I am still in touch with the people I've left behind from that world. And even occasionally get would you come back and join us? And opportunities have come back to me from Google. And so I'm still regularly in touch with a lot of them in both of those environments. And I learned so much that I would never have learned staying in Sydney, just because of the scale of these organisations and being able to operate of a portfolio across those regions. And it was probably the reason why I ended up leaving CBRE 13 years later, is how could I match those? Where was the next opportunity?
Where's the next growth opportunity? Where's the next big jewel?
For me, to run another account that I couldn't see that was on offer or maybe was right for me. I didn't see those, so it was the what's next. It was really hard, and I think a lot of people struggle once you've been on a Microsoft and Google account. Where do you go next? Because they are such amazing environments to work in. Tough, really exciting environments. Clients that are investing in real estate and spending money to create great workplace. That's really rare.
But before we move on to where you are now,
Yeah.
how do you compare the two? Because I have no experience I've not been to Oz. It's on my list. I imagine it's on a lot of people's lists. If someone asked you, how do you compare working in London versus Sydney?
It's the scale here that doesn't quite exist in Sydney. I don't think you're getting as many regional whole roles from Sydney. Maybe I'm a little bit wrong on that, but I think Asia is often the hub and Sydney is a node. So it's kind of, I think you'd be in Singapore, Hong Kong for those larger roles. Lots of friends who've moved home that same scale just isn't there. But it's the work ethic and the clever, smart people. I think Australia has a depth, a breadth of amazing people and is producing great work, producing great people, can-do attitude. And I think that's what makes, I have to say, I think what makes a lot of Australians and New Zealanders very successful here in the UK is that work ethic, can-do, grind to get things done, efficient, smart operators. And so I think that's something that carries across.
So we're finishing up with your time on Google at CBRE, and I think that's kind of 2020 and 2023.
23, 22, 23, yeah.
And was there, the role at Equinix, it was there ready for you to take, or did you decide to leave CBRE as you did previously with nothing to go to, hoping to find your feet?
I left CBRE and actually took a contract role with Google for 18 months on the transaction side of the business, which
right.
I am very grateful to a lady, Stacia Conlon, and Joe Borrett, who's the head of that side of the business, who offered me this opportunity. And it was a great way for me to learn more things about the real estate industry in depth around transactions and deals, asset management. And then my project management skills were very much applicable in that environment of running programs for them and more of an operational role for 18 months. Knew that was coming to an end. It was very much a contract role until I decided next what I wanted to do. And so I was at that point really considering where to go. Do I go to another project management house? Do I go in-house, client side? What do I do? Where do I take my skills? Kind of at the early 40s mark, the what's next, how are you going to take your career to that next level? Looked at many different options out there. And then by lucky chance, I was scanning LinkedIn one day and Jordan Jones, who I had worked on with one of my first projects at Google, who is now my boss, was advertising a global delivery lead role. And I just couldn't believe my eyes because I think I'd never really considered a global role. All my experience had been EMEA wide. And I was like, I was only considering and thinking, do I take my next EMEA? Do I do something UK? Do I do something? I wasn't considering global. And I was like, can I do global? Like, is that too big a stretch? And we got talking and I just realized, I was like, I can do this. Like the scale of their operation or where they're at this moment in time, that's a really nice step forward for me, or step up from the scale that I was operating for Google at an EMEA regional level, to be able to step into this global role. It was a portfolio scale that I thought I could manage that. And so
what were your reservations and concerns in terms of real estate lead for EMEA versus global? What was going through your mind?
Can I do, I had worked in partnership with the teams in APAC and Americas and India through my roles in EMEA and on the global accounts for Microsoft and Google, but I had never been individually responsible for projects and delivery in those locations. So it's always the piece of you that's, oh God, golly, can I do that? Is that really something that's in my wheelhouse to be able to do that? And
so self-doubt
self-doubt, totally
as
self-doubt.
opposed to logistics,
Backing
as
yourself.
opposed to
Yeah, not logistics. I mean, I always knew global meant rotten hours. I knew that going in, that meant early mornings APAC, late nights Americas. I mean, I finished at 11 p.m. last night. So that was the doubt, the hours, those sorts of things. But just not having the experience actually firsthand to be able to do those. But I think it's once you just go, I can do this. Stop doubting yourself. Put yourself forward. Why not you? Why should it be someone else? Upon reflection, I looked back at, I didn't know EMEA when I stepped into EMEA and I handled that. I didn't know Microsoft. I didn't know Google. I didn't know all those things before you step into it. So I was like, right, Liz, it's time to step up and back yourself. You can do this. And interviewed and did my presentations. And it was a long waiting game whilst they put roles on pause and then unpaused them. And then I got a lovely call from Jordan to say, we'd love to hire you. And so, December of last year, started drinking from the fire hydrant of Equinix. It was definitely a fast, sharp learning curve into a new company. But 6 months on, and I've got my feet under the table, and there's still stuff I'm learning and still stuff I don't know. But it's the same principles that the whole way along. What is good project management? What's needed for those projects? And ask the right questions and make yourself available and pull people together and all those things that you need to do. And I've now got my head around a global portfolio. So in 6 months, I'm really proud of where I've got to. And so I think it's just that lesson of back yourself. You can do anything you apply yourself to.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the first 6 months then. So in terms of, for anybody that doesn't know, Equinix data centers, in terms of your role for workplace delivery, your wider real estate team, could you just talk me and the audience through who you are, what you are, the challenges that you face, what have you been working on?
Sure.
That side of the business.
So I am part of the corporate real estate organization. It's very much the workplace side of Equinix's business, not their data centers. I guess those lines are slowly merging and blending as we look at workplace inside the data centers, and there's some great opportunities there. But it's the regions are APAC, EMEA, Americas. Under APAC is also India. And at the moment, there's, say, 5 projects in APAC, 12 or so in Americas, and about 7 in EMEA. And they range from small moves, adds, changes, and projects inside their existing workplaces, and full wholesale relocations or expansions across those locations, ranging from a couple of $100,000 up to $20 million on various projects that are going on at the moment, and full gamut of projects. And so our internal core team is quite small. Global studio design lead, global delivery, me, and then global design and innovation lead above me is my boss. And then so the way that we can deliver that portfolio of work across the world is similar to the way I was with CBRE to Google and Microsoft. We have outsourced partners, and we've got this great outsourced partner, 7, who are our global project management office team. And in that, we have a collection of EMEA, APAC, and India teams. I have a point of contact in each of those regions. And in partnership with them, it's about appointing the right consultants. So we run all that tender process together and then running projects collectively. So I rely on them very much to be running the week to week of projects, but I touch base with them each week on each project to make sure are we at the right stage, any issues to be unblocked, how are we tracking against schedule, how are we tracking against budget, reviewing recommendations, being part of all those tender interviews. So as much as I can be in the detail of each of those projects I am, but also cognizant I'm not the project manager on those projects. I need to be able to leverage those teams and partners to be delivering those projects. They probably say I'm in the weeds too much sometimes with them, but that is my style. And, I have a responsibility to my global leads to be making sure when they ring me and ask me where something's up to, I know where it's up to. And that I'm not post-boxing or simply relying on a team. I'm there to help them move things along or unblock or make decisions. And so that's kind of very much the role at the moment.
So what's the plan from you, in terms of, is it expanding the team? Are there certain initiatives that you're looking to focus on?
I
know you've only been there for 6 months.
I'm very cognizant. We've actually spent a lot of time in the last 6 months right-sizing that outsourced team, getting the right people in the right roles that are skilled for that program management responsibility. And so that's been the main focus, is to really stand up that PMO team and get that right. We're looking at expanding to another couple of sorts of roles that are needed to support our CRE organisation. So yeah, that's definitely my focus in the next 6 months, is to stand up those roles that we've got gaps in, and to help us just be a really strong global organisation, and to make sure that I have some capacity to not necessarily have to be doing all the do in certain roles, but have some capacity to, like you say, be a little bit more strategic and think about other initiatives that might need to go on, or to support the organisation in how we're planning the look ahead. What does the portfolio need to look like in the next 12 months? So that's kind of the focus at the moment. But I in the last 6 months, I think we've come a long way, and I'm really proud of what we have built as a team.
Fantastic. Listen, I think that kind of naturally brings us to the end of the episode. I thoroughly enjoyed catching up with you, Liz, and learning about where you've been and what you've been doing. It will be great to get you back on, in another 6 months, 12 months, to hear how it's going, whether you have managed to grow the team.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No, listen, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Keep in touch, and we'll get you back on the show soon.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you. Bye.
If you have an office project on the horizon and will be preparing a budget for board approval, head to my website, www.steveberridge.com, where I have a collection of resources to help you formulate a robust project budget and give your project the best chance of being a success. Thanks.